for our feature presentation.
He'll be fire on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours. It's Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. Find us on the JB and Goldwater app. You can download that into your phone. It is free, and you can watch and listen to our program daily in its entirety. And if you miss it, go back and watch and listen to it in its entirety whenever you feel like it. If you are watching, to the right of the screen with the hat on, that's me, JB. To the left, that is Darren Goldwater. He's without his hat this afternoon, so that should make it easy to figure out who's who. Follow us on social media across all platforms at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. And our phone lines and our text lines are open, 843-321-8893, 843-321-8893. If you'd like to be a part of our program, pop us a note. We'll pop it on the screen and make it a part of what we're talking about. And we will be talking to Mike Morgan and Gene Sapakoff today, ESPN and the SEC Network star broadcaster Mike Morgan joining us at 12:30 in our Mic'd Up with Mike Morgan segment, powered by Wando Power Equipment. And then Gene, fresh off his trip to the Masters, we got a full recap from him there. We've got plenty to get to with both of them. We'll talk some Gamecock hoops. We'll talk some attendance policies. We'll get into some big league baseball. We've got a bunch of stuff to dabble in this afternoon, and we'd like you to be a part of it. Tell you what, Darren, we need to start engaging more folks. Maybe more of you utilize the text line. We'll keep a closer eye on the phone lines if maybe people want to call and tell us how dumb we are. How about that?
The easiest thing is definitely dropping a message, a comment in whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're watching. The easiest thing to do is drop us a note there. Or if you're listening in Podbean, drop a note there. That's by far. Or just hit us up on Twitter or the text message. By far the easiest thing to do. Well, I mean, you're watching online, you're sitting at a keyboard or your phone, so
right.
just use it. The only reason I'm not wearing a hat today is because Mike Morgan called me out last week. So yeah, so I decided to go hatless for the day.
Oh, I should have done up my hair today then. I didn't think about it.
Yeah, although it's been a while and I realized I didn't have any of the hair gel left, so I'm full fro today.
All right. Well, I'm sure Mike will enjoy. He
better.
He'll like that. Yeah,
he better.
He'll like that. Dawn Staley also is giving her end of the season press conference today, so we'll update you from that if there is anything to update you on there. She did, by the way, already mention those two layups at the end, and she said, quote, "It just wasn't meant to be." Mm-hmm. It gives us a starting point for who we want to be for next year, and we know the margin of error, which is spot on from Dawn Staley. So let's lead off with some baseball here. All right, and I do want to get into Frank Martin. Kerry Rich, by the way, wrote a great column on many conversations he has had with Frank Martin over the last few weeks, and that's up at thebigspur.com, so you can check that out over there with our buddies John Whittle and JC and all them at the Big Spur. But so we're going to get into that here in just a little bit, but I want to start with some baseball because it was this day in 2004, which is 17 years ago, that Barry Bonds passed his godfather Willie Mays on the all-time home runs list. That's this day 17 years ago. He hit 661. Okay. And so many of us reference Barry Bonds. You probably didn't. Yeah, I came out of left field with this one. You probably had no idea this is where I was going with this. But Barry Bonds, obviously, most folks reference Barry Bonds in the fact that they don't want to acknowledge him as the all-time home run champion. He should feel terrible about himself for breaking the rules, and he wasn't the only one that broke the rules. I think he was a Hall of Famer before he got on this home run kick that basically started in 2001 or so. But if you think about it, Darren, if you're a family guy like I am, and generally the one group of people you just never want to let down are those in your family.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are Barry Bonds and maybe you, to this day, feel some type of regret about something you did in your career, steroids, something like that, you have to wonder whether it bothers him more that he owns the home run record because of that, or that he topped his godfather in home runs because of that. Doesn't that bring – no one ever talks about that. Like, you hit more than Willie Mays maybe because you took the juice. And I don't know if it even bothers him. It might not. None of it might bother him. I have no idea. But if you think about it from that side of things, I would feel worse about that than I'd feel about actually owning the record.
Well, that's a complicated question because
it is. It's very complicated.
Because does he regret doing some of the things that he did? Do some of the players, all of the players, none of the players regret doing some of the things that they did regarding steroids? I don't know the answer to that question, right? And like you said, Bonds, in my eyes as well, was a Hall of Famer before he really ever started down that path, maybe even before he ever left Pittsburgh. So in my eyes, and I know most people down here don't agree with this at all because this is Braves country, Barry Bonds is the all-time home run king, regardless of how you want to shape this and say, no, he's not, it doesn't count. He's the all-time home run king. That's the way it is. He happened to play through an era and be a part of an era where things weren't exactly the way they were back in the past. However, the record still stands. So does he regret doing what he did? I don't know. I know that they were close. If I had to guess, I bet Barry Bonds doesn't have a single regret about what he did because it paved the way for the career that he had, the money that's in his bank account, and the life that's going to be ahead for the rest of his family and generations of his family. So my guess is there isn't a single regret there with Barry Bonds.
Yeah, I mean, more than likely, I don't know if that's true or not. More than likely, you're probably right, because I think we always need to tagline these baseball home run Hall of Fame type conversations, whether you want to agree with this or believe it or not. With this one comment, Barry Bonds was one of a lot who were doing what they were doing. He was just really good, and there was a lot of dudes that took the juice that they weren't that good, and it just didn't help them. I mean, this guy was an elite player from the get-go. I mean, I'm just, from a personal level, it would hurt me more that I took out my godfather and Willie Mays on that chart than it would to actually own the record. But I'm going to say an unpopular opinion too. And I agree. I don't disagree with anybody that says things like, well, Hank Aaron is the true home run champion. I don't disagree with that. If that's how you feel, that's fine. Because you know what? He's the cleanest true champion. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. That is true. But the record states that Barry Bonds is the home run champion, period. The end. And until they wipe that record out, he is. So we might not want to acknowledge it, but it's true. Now, you can put the asterisk next to it that says, well, he wasn't clean in getting there. That's also true, and that's fine. But when you look at what he did, and then you have to talk about it from a Hall of Fame standpoint. Like, I can make an argument for a lot of people to be in the Hall of Fame. I think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, if he never bet on himself to lose.
That's smart.
He always bet on him. He always bet to win, right? He never bet on himself to lose. But the rule was you don't bet in baseball, and he broke the rules. So he's served his time, but I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. There's other guys who are clean, like you've heard me say it 1,000 times. I know you agree. You know, Fred McGriff should be in the Hall of Fame. Andrew Jones should be in the Hall of Fame. But if we're going to start getting into like, you know, character issues and things like that, Babe Ruth probably shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. There was just I was reading the other day this column. I must have missed it from a couple of years ago about his mistress. I mean, and he drank during the games.
Yes, he did.
I mean, Babe Ruth was not some clean, sparkling citizen. He was like a lot of dudes were back then. They played baseball. They ran the roads. They, you know, brought home a lot of women when their wives weren't around. And, you know, that was kind of the way it was. That's what they did. But, you know, the steroid era brings a different, different conversation to this. And, but I think he should be a Hall of Famer. But I just found that interesting. 17 years ago today, he broke that. And I thought to myself, I wonder if it hurts. I wonder if it hurts him. No, and I took the juice and I broke my godfather's record while I was putting needles in my rear end.
I don't, you know, it's hard to answer that question, obviously, because we don't know Barry Bonds and you can't speak for Barry Bonds. But again, I would venture a guess that he doesn't feel badly about it at all, because that's the decision that he made. And like you pointed out, he wasn't alone in taking any type of substance. There were a lot of guys doing it because at the time it was, I mean, it's very easy to rationalize using performance enhancing drugs back in that time because the money was so great. If you, take Bonds, take record breakers, take Hall of Famers out of the discussion. Talk about some pitchers, talk about minor league guys, right? If you're going to hit 20 points higher, if you're going to hit 10 more home runs, maybe you're going to get to the big leagues faster. Maybe you're going to make your first million or your first 10 million faster. And it's such a popular thing going on in the clubhouses at the time. It's very easy to see how it happened. So does he regret it? I doubt it. I truly doubt he regrets anything, because the records are going to sit there and they're going to stand for themselves, and it'll be up to anyone else to judge however they want to feel. But in the back of his mind, he knows he's the greatest hitter, I think, that's ever lived.
I think he's the best hitter all around hitter. Yeah, I think he's the best hitter I've seen in my lifetime. I think if you want to include the long ball, I think the purest hitter I ever saw was Tony Gwynn. I loved watching Tony Gwynn hit. I mean, he was a magician with the bat. But I think a lot of times when you have these conversations, while we're having it, let's just actually have it here. When you have these conversations about blaming players, which it was their choice, okay? And as you mentioned, like that was the atmosphere. That was part of baseball at that point in time. But at the end of the day, you have to blame baseball. If you want to blame anybody, blame baseball, because baseball knew about it. And baseball did nothing about it. And the reason that baseball did nothing about it is because the strike happened in 94. And when the strike happened in 94, they lost fans. People lost belief in baseball. All right. Fans looked to other sports for comfort, basically, or they found solace in other sports. That's the NBA spiked. The NBA was always a league that people followed. Don't get me wrong. But they gained new fans. You go back and look at this stuff. The NBA gained more fans. The NFL gained more fans. Hockey gained more fans. Soccer became more popular in America. There were average fans who said, "I'm done with baseball because of these selfish millionaires who can't do this, who can't do that," and they, whatever reason, it didn't matter. At the end of the day, they were on strike. Baseball was done in 1994, and they needed something to pick me up. And baseball got its juice, literally, no pun intended there, back in the home run chase of 98 when McGuire and Sosa went neck and neck, right? That's when baseball, all of a sudden, America's pastime was back. We had never seen that. Like, we had never seen two guys doing what they were doing. They seemingly had an amazing relationship. It seemed that way on the field. Apparently it was off the field as well, but they were on the juice, and so were a lot of people. But it brought it brought fans back to the sport. Baseball, the league, knew what was going on, Darren. And as that carries over to today, like, we have a big problem in the sport today. Anybody know what it is? It pertains to how the game is played. 1, 2, 3 of them, strike 3, right? Strikeouts is a part of the game now that people seemingly just don't care about. It's accepted. Like, when I grew up playing, but you were a baseball player. When I played baseball, dude, there was nothing that pissed me off more
The worst.
than striking out.
That was unacceptable.
Dude, it was my coaches hammered that into me all the way up into college. I mean, it was like the worst thing in the world. Like I couldn't get over it. If I went 2 for 4 that day with a home run, but I struck out the other 2 times, that's all I thought about. I hated that. I felt like I let my team down. You do nothing in a strikeout, basically, then you could accomplish nothing. But now look at where we are today. Like I pulled up strikeout numbers this morning to see if they correlate, and they absolutely do. In 2019, last year was only 60 games, so you kind of throw that out. But in 2019, big leaguers combined for 42,823 strikeouts. Darren, 42,000.
42,000.
42,000.
That's a lot of strikeouts.
It started in 1998 is when they jumped up into the 30s. Prior to that, low 20s. It hit the mid-20s in 1995, the year after baseball got back. In 1996, bam, 29,000. And from there on, numbers have gone up. And if you go back and you remember that you got to go remember the time here of 1998, what we were just talking about. Home runs caught the attention of the country. That's when it became cool to hit the long ball. And it was always cool to hit. Chicks dig the long ball. That goes back a long ways. I get it. But it became cooler to hit the long ball and okay to strike out. And gradually, as time has gone on, that has like infiltrated the sport. And you look at now, you're paid to hit 25 home runs. They don't give a crap if you hit 220, 25, 30 home runs. You hit 220, you get paid, baby. That's what it's all about. And that's what brought the sport back. And so you go back and you tie all this together and you go, they needed the juice to bring it back after the strike in 94. They needed steroids and they got them. And they needed the long ball and they got it. And now we're bitching about the game being too long. And it's because we're striking out too much. And you look 25 years after all this crap started and you wonder why we are where we are. I see a correlation.
So let me ask you this, because a week or so ago, and this has now actually come up in Major League Baseball, but a week or so ago, it was brought up that they will start analyzing the baseballs used in the game today to see if the pitchers are using any substances. Bauer out in Los Angeles has already had this come up, or at least reports are that Major League Baseball is looking into some of the balls he used for, I believe, his first start with the Dodgers, even though he refutes that. One of the reasons strikeouts are up, it is absolutely because pitchers are using substances in order to get a better grip. We know that, right? I mean, it's one of those unwritten acceptances. It's not an unwritten rule, but everyone understands, because you don't want to take 99 in the eye, that letting the pitcher have a little bit better grip on the ball is going to give them a little bit more control. By virtue of that, strikeouts are also increasing. People want to talk about the shift and getting rid of the shift and how can you speed up. The answer is strikeouts. The balls are not being put in play at the rate that they were. So does it go back now? If you want to start fixing that problem, do you start looking at the pitchers or do you start looking at the hitters and what's acceptable and what's being paid out by general managers?
Well, I mean, the game has changed. Pitchers have cheated forever. I mean, you could go, as a matter of fact, it was easier for them to cheat years ago when there weren't a bunch of cameras on them as opposed to now. I mean, they used to have pine tar in their hat lids. They used to put Vaseline in their pockets and on the inside of their pant lines. I mean, but now you've got 100 cameras in every game that catch every move that you make. So if you're cheating, you better be pretty damn good with it.
And they are.
Yeah, there's no right. Do I think every arm that runs to the mound is cheating? No, absolutely not.
No.
I mean, that's like saying every guy that runs out to the plate is on the juice. That's not true.
No.
But I don't think. Look, the sport's never going to be pure. You know that. We all know that. It's never going to be purely clean. I think there needs to be more of an emphasis on just putting the ball in play, because I've heard this before. Well, yeah, but pitchers are better today. They didn't all throw 95 and 100 back then. Yeah, you're right. Well, hitters are also better today. They're better trained. There's better equipment. They're better taken care of. The athlete is better, bigger, stronger, faster is the name of the game all the way around. So no, I purely am just on the side of, look, Whit Merrifield hits well over 300, and somehow, some way, he's found a way to only strike out about 70 times a year, and these other guys are striking out 150 and 200 times. It's possible to do that, but you get paid to hit the long ball.
It's still true that the best guys in the game are not striking out. Trout doesn't strike out often. Soto doesn't strike out often. I'm not sure about Acuna, but my guess is Acuna is not striking out often.
He strikes out enough.
Says a Braves fan. He also flies, as we just saw. But
yeah,
the best guys aren't striking out at that rate. It's everybody else. I mean, it's the guys who are filling out that roster, who are filling out that lineup card. It's not Hall of Fame guys who are striking out at that rate. I said this back then. I still believe it today, and I'll always believe it. Everyone in every field, whether it's sports or business or whatever, you're going to do everything in your power to be as good as you can possibly be. You're going to do everything in your power to get any type of an edge that you can get. Before steroids became the name of the game, it was greenies, right? I mean, it's just something to pop you up a little bit, to wake you up a little bit, to give yourself a little bit of an edge. There will always be that evolving pattern, if that's the right word, but opportunity, however that evolves for the athlete to continue to gain an edge. And once baseball figures it out, once scientists figure it out, then you're going to have to change your game up a little bit. It was going on before steroids. It was going on during steroids. It's going on today, and it will continue going on. And it's not just baseball. It's everywhere. So that's the whole gray area of this entire conversation for me. While steroids become this eye-popping, wow, that's illegal, it's a drug. I understand that part. But at the time, it wasn't like written into the rules that you couldn't do it, and baseball just turned their head because they willingly turn their head away.
Yeah,
it will always evolve like that.
Absolutely. There's in today's game with accessibility, or in today's world, I should say, yeah, you have access to everything basically, right? So you have social media, you have 1,000 cameras on everything. Anything could get out anywhere because everybody has a cell phone. They can take a picture. They can send a text message in their locker room about some guy who's cheating or whatever. It doesn't matter. So it's harder to hide it, although you can. But to your point, at that point in time, only so many people had access to the inner workings of baseball. And that's why they turned a blind eye to it, because they could, for the most part, protect it. And even to this day, all of this has fallen on the shoulders of the players. And should they be held accountable? Well, of course they should. You should be held personally accountable for anything, for everything. I mean, it's like, the whole COVID thing. If they don't require masks, but you feel like you need to wear one, that's okay. You can wear one. Like, be personally accountable for yourself. So do you blame the players during the steroid era? Of course you do. But baseball knew it was going on. They knew it was going on. They watched it going on. But they needed it, and they were willing to take the risk, because without that, they felt like they couldn't get baseball back. And what does that mean, Darren? Money, right? They want butts in the seats. They want TV contracts. I mean, the home run chase of '98. Any station in the country that was physically capable of doing it was cutting into their broadcast to show every single at bat that Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were having. And they did it again in 2001 for Barry Bonds. And baseball knew what was going on, but the exposure brought the advertising dollars. It brought butts in the seats. Anytime, it wasn't just in San Fran or in St. Louis or in Chicago. Anywhere they played, you went. Even if your team sucked, you went to watch those guys play.
Right?
Maybe they're going to hit one out of the ballpark today.
Even in spring training, I remember going down to spring training, and we got there early so that we could see McGwire hit bombs, and we saw him hit bombs, and they were so loud. I was not at the time. I wasn't 13. I was older at that point, but it was, what's going on. You accept it, because as a baseball fan at that point, you accepted it because the game accepted it up until a certain point.
Tyler just made a great point here. A great comment. He says, it was an awesome time as a kid keeping up with it for sure. And that is exactly what baseball intended. They turned a blind eye. They were willing, if it ever fell back on them, they were willing to take that risk because of that right there. They brought in, and in this whole era of new kids and players. And, a lot of the young kids, or all the young kids in today's game, don't remember that. because most of them weren't alive. I mean, Ronald Acuna Jr. didn't know anything about that. You know, Soto, you can look at it in the record books. You can go watch it on YouTube or whatever you want to do. They didn't live through it. I did. You lived through it. We all lived through it. It brought a generation of kids into the game. It helped rebuild the game. We already mentioned all of the money, and it was awesome. And we all today, I'm one of them. I'm guilty of it. I knowingly accept that it was steroid-induced drama in baseball. It was steroid-induced drama.
Yes.
But it was awesome to watch.
Yes.
It was awesome to watch, man. Every swing, every call. It still gives me goosebumps to go to YouTube and listen to the calls of some of those that left the yard. It was awesome. The run from Barry Bonds, watching those folks in the stands. It was awesome. And you look back, and am I ashamed that I supported it? Absolutely not. I'm not. I would never take steroids. I'm not a steroid guy. I was offered them in college and never took them. Okay. I would never do that. You're cheating when you take steroids. But when I look back in the entertainment value of this, baseball got everything they could have ever dreamed of, and it helped set them up to where they are.
So you turned them down in college. Fast forward. Let's say you were fringe good enough. You were drafted in the 35th round. You were a single A ball player. You were hitting 260, but you couldn't get up to double A.
Right.
And someone offers them to you.
Yeah. Well, personally for me, because of my family history, health-wise, I would have never, no.
Okay.
But had I not had that, it would be impossible to not seriously consider that.
That's right.
Now, I know plenty of guys who have played professional, tons. I couldn't even start to name them all right now, who played professional baseball, and I can truthfully tell you that none of those guys that I know, well, with the exception of one guy, none of the other guys I know took it. And I know that one of them specifically was offered, and it's probably not who all of you think, just because we talk about him around here a lot. It's not that guy, but none of those guys took it. None of them. And I know that for a fact. But they know a lot of guys who took
tons. Yeah.
And I've seen it done. And I was scared to even see it. But it was part of the game, and Darren, it wasn't just part of the pro game; it was part of the college game.
Yes,
it infiltrated the high school kids, which was really dangerous because they had no idea what they were doing. I don't know where they got what they got, and it wasn't any guys that I knew in high school, but elsewhere around the country. Dude, you know what you're doing? That is incredibly dangerous. You could kill yourself.
Yeah, and we're fooling ourselves right now, or anyone else is fooling themselves. If you think performance-enhancing substances are out of the game, they're not. They're just better at understanding how to cycle on and off, so you're not going to test positive for it.
Right.
That's why when you see certain guys test positive, it's eye-opening because it's like, well, what did you do that allowed you to get caught? It's still going on, but it's understood to a degree where you're not going to have someone swole up like a McGuire or a Bonds and make it painfully obvious just to the naked eye of what's happening. It's still going on. And I don't know if there's any way to fully eradicate it from the sports world because the science will keep up with the fact checkers, if you will. I mean, there will always be the next step, the next way to circumvent the rules. So
in every sport,
and absolutely in every sport, absolutely in every sport.
Yeah, in every sport. But it is. I'm glad we had this conversation. I didn't expect it to go that long, but it was fun. And like Lily said, I remember the Mark McGuire era. It was great. Tim Frisbee. There was no acceptance up to a certain point. Baseball fully embraced it and exploited it. And to do what they've done to those players is the height of hypocrisy. And I agree with him. I mean, baseball, they knew they needed it. They knew they needed what they were getting out of that era. They knew they needed it to save the sport, basically, is what they thought. And now it's like, well, we're going to hammer you, which you have to do. You have to. If you take the juice, they got to hammer you on it. But they allowed it to get to where it was. They allowed that flower to bloom, man. And a lot of play, but you know what? A lot of those guys, they got paid, and I don't know anybody that will walk up to Mark McGuire and say, you know what? I think you're piece of trash. I think they walk up to him and say that 1998 summer was the coolest summer I've ever seen. I mean, that was truly remarkable.
Loved watching you hit. I that 98 summer, that was my freshman summer in college. And I remember going to Champs, the sports bar, all the time.
You probably watched every single game.
Just so we could see McGuire and Sosa's at-bats.
Yeah. Truly awesome. Truly awesome. So is Mike Morgan. He's pretty awesome. He's going to join us next right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every 2021 Tiguan, $3,500 off. Every 2021 Atlas, $5,300 off. Every new Volkswagen available with 0 down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike two.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save $5,300 on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month for 1,000 borrowed for 0% APR with 0 includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to VCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
What's up, everyone? JB here. Want to tell you about my friends at McFadden Pest Control, as we do every day on our program. I love these guys. They've been in business over 40 years, and they treat our family like they've only been around for 4 days. Always doing their best work, trying to earn our business, although they know that they'll always have it. Heath and the guys take care of our quarterly, our mosquitoes, termite bonds, anything we can get them to do, they do it. They're the best. They're friends. Heath even often texts me and just asks to see how my family's doing. It's amazing. I can't say enough about McFadden Pest Control. Switch to them. You'll never have anyone else protect your home. McFaddenPestControl.com, McFaddenPestControl.com here in the Low Country.
Spring is officially here, and there's no better place to bring it in than the Dog and Duck. 3 locations in Mount Pleasant, Park West, Bell Hall, and Clements Ferry Road, all of them with gorgeous outdoor seating to take advantage of their daily food and drink specials. Through the end of April, $5 Sweetwater pints, food specials like Taco Tuesday, and the Game Day Burger every Wednesday. It's all available at Dog and Duck. There are 3 locations in Mount Pleasant, Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
Mike Morgan made me feel like I've had a couple drinks early on a Tuesday afternoon. Welcome to the JB and Goldwater Show. Mic'd up with Mike Morgan, powered by an Audi SUV, I'm assuming?
Yeah, this is an Audi Q7, yeah.
All right, I nailed it.
Good. I don't know how you knew that. What in the world gave that away?
Sunroof, dead giveaway.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, I was looking at I'm not buying one, but I was looking at some cars the other day online, and I actually looked at one of those, and I saw the sunroof. You have there's 2 sunroofs, right? Is there 2?
Well, it's kind of 2 in 1, and then there's a sunroof, and then I've got the mesh covering on there right now, so we don't have a major glare. Although I see we got a glare coming in over here. So no matter what I do, when I do this from the car, the lighting is never going to be perfect, no matter how hard I try.
You got a glare coming from here too, and it's your fault for telling me not to wear a hat this time.
You look great. Jamie, learn from your partner. Take your hat off. Come on.
I totally forgot about that.
Please. Yes, it's more personal. People want to get to know you. They want to be invited inside the JB and Goldwater world. And when you put a brim on your hat, you're saying, no, I got to keep my distance.
Says the guy in the hat.
Says the guy with the visor. Yeah. Oh, here I can do one of these.
There you go.
Yeah. Little tennis action there. All right. What are you coming from pickleball? What are you doing?
I'm going to play as soon as we're done. I'm going to play as soon as we're done. This is what I've been This is what I resort to now. Can't find a basketball league anymore. I'm not going to be a jogger. I'm not one of those guys. Not a treadmill guy.
No.
So it's a pickleball guy.
Forget it.
Yeah.
I'm more of a back porch pour bourbon type guy. Maybe go out there and swing a croquet set every once in a while, but that's about it.
Croquet, huh?
I have a croquet set. We need to pull that out. I haven't used it.
I've done bocce ball. I've never done croquet.
No, bocce's fun. Bocce's a good time, especially at the beach.
Bocce's fantastic, yeah.
Well, what do y'all want to talk about today?
Howdies and bocce ball. That's it. Goodbye, everybody.
Oh, man. By the way, got a quick nugget here from Emily Miles at South Carolina tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Frank Martin will hold his postseason media press conference. So we will check into that once we get off the air and hopefully have some news to pass along to you, as will everybody else. Stephen, by the way, Mike just chimed in and said it was incredible listening to Mike last Sunday calling the Gamecocks baseball game. So another feather in your cap, my friend.
You know, I got a few of those, and I say this in all sincerity. It's really humbling to have people say that. You know, you get it from other fans around the SEC from time to time, but clearly there's a uniqueness there when doing a Gamecock game. So I can't say enough about that. It's beyond flattering, and I really appreciate it. It's sometimes hard to believe I've been gone for 12 years now. It doesn't feel that long in some ways. In other ways, it feels like an eternity, I guess. But you know, it's been great, and I've got another Gamecock game Thursday night that I'm looking forward to with LSU on ESPNU. Just had a production call about that, and some of the things we're going to be getting into. I'll give you guys a little sneak preview. One thing that I pointed out to our producer is that I'm trying to see if we can get some what we call B-roll, some footage of the 2004 win against LSU in Omaha. And I thought it was significant because that encapsulates where those two programs went from that point on. So like the 90s, there's no argument. LSU was the team of the 90s.
Yeah.
They owned college baseball. And if you include 2000, that's 5 national titles in that decade. But then all of a sudden, this guy named Ray Tanner and this program, South Carolina, which hadn't done anything in the SEC that was noteworthy from 92 to 99. I mean, I know they won maybe I think a divisional crown one year, but they were not on the map. Let's put it that way. And then all of a sudden, LSU starts to descend, and South Carolina is going to World Series every year. They beat LSU in Omaha in 03 and 04, and then beat them in the Wally Pontiff game in the SEC tournament. And then, of course, by the time they made their second round of Omaha, 2010, 11, 12, LSU was a different program. Now, they won a title. Give Paul Maneri credit. They won a Natty in 09.
Yep.
But they've been consistently good, but not great. And South Carolina achieved greatness under Ray Tanner during that time. So I think we can make some parallels between the two programs and where there was a fork in the road and one went this way and one went that way.
You know, when you look at SEC baseball, now that you brought that up, if you want to try to chop it up, let's say over the last 30 years, and I totally agree with you, there is nobody. That wasn't the program in the league. LSU was the program of the decade across the country, obviously in the 90s. Period. There wasn't even a close second.
Yep.
And then, but there was a lot of there because they won, the Gamecocks won the national championship in 2010. If you'd like to include it as part of that decade, which you can't, but some people do. A lot of folks claim that maybe South Carolina was, quote, the team of that decade because they had gone to all those World Series, whatever. But it kind of crossed over because they didn't win it till 2010, 2011, and then get to the title game again in 2012. And then after that, you could make a brilliant argument that both Florida and Vanderbilt should be considered the teams of that decade, this past one. So, but it's been interesting because they've kind of all handed the baton to each other, Mike. And I think Vanderbilt and Florida share it, but it was LSU to South Carolina to Florida, Vanderbilt.
Great point. And that's exactly the way I would, if I were telling this story 30 years from now, that's how I would tell it. South Carolina in the 2000s was as consistently good as anyone. They made the supers more often than not. They made the postseason every year. They made it to Omaha 3 years. They won 2 SEC titles. And like you said, if you included 2010, then that's another Omaha and a national championship. And then all of a sudden, Vanderbilt turns into a monster. And Florida is right there with O'Sullivan as the 2 most consistently great programs of this decade. So, and who knows? I mean, maybe it'll be Arkansas in the next decade. I mean, there's so many good programs in this league, all of whom are capable of that kind of run, but only a few of them actually make it. The margin is paper thin. Arkansas should be sitting on a national title. If the right fielder calls off the second baseman or first baseman on that pop fly, Arkansas's got a national title. And so, but now they might not win one for the next 50 years. You just don't know. Mm-hmm. So you got to be a little bit lucky. You can't just be good. You got to be lucky as well.
Mic'd up with Mike Morgan, powered by Wando Power Equipment. Yeah, you mentioned, kind of to bring it back to here, 2021, LSU and kind of what they've gone through. And Gamecock's going to make that trip this week. Now, they finally won their first SEC series this weekend because they took 2 of 3 from the Wildcats up in Lexington.
Right. I had them Saturday, yeah.
How'd they look in that game?
Here's now, of course, I work with Todd Walker a lot, and I'll be working again with Todd on Thursday, and he is Mr. LSU. I don't know if people remember just how good Todd Walker was, but yeah. Todd Walker was ridiculous. Of all the talented announcers we have that have had great careers, as far as a pure hitter, I don't know if we have a guy that had a better career than Todd Walker if you include college and the pros. But my view of LSU was, I saw their 1-8 start in SEC. It was the worst since 1969, and I was really curious, like, are they that bad? And then I started studying, and I was like, okay, they're better than I thought. And then I saw them in person, and I was like, oh, no. This team is going to make another second half run. Maybe they need another rally rode into like a possum like they had in 2016 to get it going. But one way or another, they got a chance to be pretty doggone good. I wouldn't want to play them. And I think South Carolina knows that. Like, anybody who looks at the records and says, oh, we should go to Baton Rouge and win 2 out of 3, be careful. Pump the brakes on that, because this is a team that has a lot of talent. Now, they're young, but they've got a lot of talent, and you're going to see a great pitching matchup for our game Thursday night with Farr and Marceau. Neither one of those guys walk many people, and so they're going to challenge hitters, and I think it's going to be a great game.
What's I've never been there. Obviously, I know plenty of dudes who've played there, but what is Alex? I mean, they've redone Alex Box, but what's it like? Describe that atmosphere?
The old Alex Box reminded me of the Sarge in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was outdated. It was hot. If you wanted to go to the bathroom, it was a pain in the rear end. The press box was crap. In the case of Alex Box, we didn't even have a press box. We were out there in the stands.
Really?
And so I can remember multiple times where we're in the middle of a game, right? It's like a 5-5 game in the 8th inning, and there's runners on base. It's a key moment. And some LSU fan comes up to me, and while I'm on the air, they see I've got headsets on, but they think I'm the PA announcer. So they come up and go, "Could you wish my Uncle Earl a happy 72nd birthday party?" Sir, I will, but not now. And this would happen 5 times a game. They just saw a guy with a microphone, and they thought I was the public address announcer. So, and there's, I remember the old rustic fans, like something out of a 1920s park. Look, the ballparks of today are so much nicer, but I'll tell you what, Alex Box was intimidating, much like the Sarge was intimidating for different reasons. But Alex Box was intimidating, and some LSU fans feel like they've lost that a little bit. Since they spruced it up and made it a swanky ballpark like all the other ones now. But no, I remember the first time I went there was my first year in 2000. And we get off the bus and you see that billboard out there in right field, and it says The Intimidator. And it has a baseball for all their national championships. Now, their fans couldn't have been nicer overall. They offered me my first ever pasta jambalaya. They were cool. They still are. But that's an intimidating place to play, especially back then in the old ballpark.
Wow. I was trying to fix some other stuff. I just looked down and realized that JB wasn't there. So the fact that guys came up to you calling the game, I don't think people realize how often that actually happens. When you're in the middle of doing a game and people just walk up to you, assuming you're the PA guy.
Yeah.
It probably happens to you even still, even though you're in these gorgeous new press boxes, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Football games, basketball games. I've had people come up to me. If it's not too much trouble, my wife and I are having their 10-year anniversary. Could you mention that? Her name is Beth. And, or, hey, my son, he broke his arm and he's having a hard time in a cast, and you just wish him well. I'm like, sir, it's overtime. I've got to call this.
Like 30 seconds.
Call these plays here, if you don't mind. But that guy on the other side, he's a PA announcer. He'll take care of that for you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that guy has the big microphone, sir.
He's got the big mic. He's your man. I'm just some guy they pay to call games.
So while we're in story time, last week I mentioned the Tom Price story when he was trying to cross the street on the way back from Mississippi State, and we thought, or you said, another time, more time, I'll tell the whole story. Reese Havens is the one who I remember when this happened, because when everybody got home, he was like, "You're not gonna believe what happened to Tom." I said, "Tom who?" He said, "Tom Price." I said, "What do you mean?" Kind of described, but that's been 13 years ago. So tell the story. What happened?
Well, I worked with Tom, I guess, for 8-9 years before he passed, and then of course at that point, Tommy Moody wound up doing all the games with me. The first 8 years, Tom was with me on all the road games. They wouldn't pay to travel an analyst, and so Tom, he lived for this stuff. You have to understand, it was never about the money for Tom, and Tom would be the first one to tell you he wasn't a true radio guy, but his number one thing was, I'm going to keep a clean scorebook, and I'm going to have every stat and nugget that you could possibly come up with. And nobody was ever better than Tom. And we all just love Tom and adore Tom. And I think Ray was very kind to Tom, kinder than some coaches would be. But in 2000, what year would you say it was? 7?
7 or 8, yeah.
Or 2008, yeah. Okay. So
might have been 2007, Mike. Might have been 2007.
Okay.
Around.
Well, whichever one it was, Tom's health was deteriorating, and I know, like, there were times where, God, I'll never forget. This is one more Tom Price. They all just start coming back together here on your show.
Yeah.
So it might have been the same weekend, but Tom, Mississippi State's stadium, which has now been redone and is as good as it gets.
Yeah.
We we would have to walk up a ton of stairs to get to the press box. And Tom and I are walking, and he would have to take heart medicine from time to time, and he's having trouble getting there. I said, Tom, please just stop, just go back to the hotel, sit this one out. Like you don't look well. No, I'm going. He gets to the broadcast booth, and they had to get him a doctor.
Oy.
And Larry Conley and Dave Neal are next door to our booth, and they're looking at my booth, and there's like a doctor, and there's Tom on like an IV, and I'm just shaking my head going, this is not good. And Tom insists, he's like, I'm gonna be in that broadcast booth, and I'm gonna be with you for the game. I don't care what it takes. So that was stage one. Stage two was
the wonders of doing a interview from your car. But I tell you, that's a great shot right there. If we could screen capture that for Mike, yeah. and then they could throw that up on the screen, that'd be perfect for him.
Yeah, we've both had a couple of quick bugaboos, but we'll get him back here in just a second.
What about your memories of Tom Price? You'll get back here within a second.
Oh yeah, well I didn't know Tom that well, but when you talk about a guy that knew what he was talking about, it was Tom Price. He had every stat in the books. He would come up with things that you couldn't dream of. I mean, like today, you hear all these BA BIPs and all these crazy stats. Tom Price would probably tell you if he was alive today. I had those stats years ago, and I didn't have all this funny language for them. You know what I mean? Like he was that guy. He had every stat, and he could remember everything that ever happened. And Tommy Moody's done the same thing now. Tommy Moody can remember literally everything. I don't know how he does it. But those guys, that was what I always felt like Tom added to the broadcast was Mike was clean, called the game. He knew what was going on. He was the best. Clearly everybody still loves him. Tommy Moody added a little bit of fire to it and was able to kind of bring you a different a different level of whatever Mike was describing.
Yep.
And then Tom was able to go deep into the vault, and you're like, wow, holy moly. So it was 3 different layers of the same story when they were in the broadcast booth. There's Mike Morgan. So he was about to get into to series 2 of this story. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Nope, it's okay.
You guys got me okay?
You're good.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So basically, just to cap off the story, we in order to break up that trip, we'd have one, and I mean only one stop where everybody could go to the bathroom, maybe grab something quickly to eat, and then it's back on the bus and let's get home. So we're in the middle of I don't know, is it Anniston, Alabama? Some spot where there's like the most fast food restaurants and a chance to go to the bathroom. But we're parked on one side of the highway, and a lot of the players wanted to get something on the other side where there was, I don't know, Chick-fil-A or Taco Bell or something. Tom, who was sleeping, it looked like he was passed out on the bus the whole way, unbeknownst to us, got up, followed everybody, and you had to cross over this highway, like this 4-lane highway where cars are going 70, 80 miles an hour. And Tom nearly got hit by a car. And I'm here to tell you, if he had, that was all she wrote. So they wound up walking him back, and it was a scary moment. And I remember telling Ray, I said, I like this man too much to see something happen. I said, I don't know how much longer we can bring him on the road trips. And it was kind of like, who's going to be the person that says to Tom Price, you're not allowed to come on the road trips anymore.
Yeah.
To the very end, he went on the road trips. Yeah. He went on the road trips. And but my nightmare scenario was like, I think I would dream like you wake up in the morning paper, Gamecock baseball analyst dies of natural causes on an 8-hour bus ride from Mississippi. Yeah. It's just like, please don't let this happen. And thankfully it didn't, but yeah, there were so many memories with Tom, but those were definitely a couple of them that stood out.
Well, and Coach Tanner alongside June Raines and Bobby Richardson, they all shared this ability to create this big family of Gamecock baseball. I mean, that's the one program at the University of South Carolina, Mike, and you know this because you were a part of it for so many years, and you're still beloved when you're back around and calling games. But the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s and now the 2010s and beyond, they have found a way to connect everybody, and it's not just the players. I mean, if you've worked on the field, if you've been a part of the broadcast team, if you have been a part of the maintenance department, that was always a focus. Maybe it goes back to Bobby, I'm not sure, but they make sure that Donnie and the guys that take care of the field are a part of what they do, and I think that's what has made them successful.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys know who Fox Buyer is.
Sure.
I still hear from the old trainers. I mean, Ray always he got it. Quite frankly, there were a lot of Gamecock coaches that didn't get it in terms of keeping that family alive, keeping those connections where everybody feels like they're part of something, that it's not just about the time that you're there, but after you're gone, you're still part of that family.
Yep.
Ray got that early on and instilled that within the program. And so whether it's Tom Price or whether it's the equipment guy, whether it's a Fox Buyer, whether it's Brainerd Cooper, the longtime trainer, there was all a special unit, and we all traveled together. That's the other thing. Some schools don't do that. They divvy it up. Their announcers travel separate. Some of the staff might travel separate, but at South Carolina, we were all on that bus. And when you're on a bus with somebody for 8-9 hours, you get to know them very well, one way or another.
Yeah, the 8-9 hour bus rides, aren't those a blast? Especially when you get the bunk bed buses. And I'll take the top bunk so you don't mess with me on the bottom bunk. All right, Mike, to bring it to present day, before we let you run here, obviously you'll have South Carolina and LSU on Thursday night. Remember that, folks. The next 2 weekends for the Gamecocks are Thursday through Saturday. They're on the road in Baton Rouge, and then the following weekend they welcome, we'll see where they are then, but the top-ranked Arkansas Razorbacks into Founders Park, which, by the way, we'll get to this in a little bit, maybe could be an increased capacity Founders Park. But this weekend, in addition to that series, there are a couple of rather important ones, maybe claiming state rights or claiming the state overall, because in the Magnolia State, it's 6-4 Ole Miss, Mississippi State. And up in Tennessee, Vanderbilt will make the trip to Lindsey Nelson in a top 5 matchup. Mike Morgan, my goodness, who saw that coming? So the two major series in college baseball this weekend, as generally they do, are taking place in the SEC and are taking place within the borders of their own states, Mississippi and Tennessee.
I did not get any of them. Sorry, we're having a connection problem. It sounded good, whatever you just said.
It was the weekend in the SEC is pretty darn big.
Okay.
Yeah, Ole Miss,
I think
Mississippi
we can
State.
Summarize that with it's a big weekend.
Yeah. Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. That's what we were getting at. So we'll see you on the call at 7:30 on Thursday night. How about that on ESPNU?
That I heard, and very excited to do it. And we should have a great matchup for you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Mike Morgan, mic'd up with Mike Morgan, ESPN and the SEC Network. Good luck in pickleball today.
He says thanks.
Okay.
We'll throw this up there for him, too. Don't forget,
Yeah.
Stuart Wingo for the best mortgage rates in town, anywhere. Doesn't matter where you are. Give him a call there, 803-319-1777.
At least we got all the stories in with Mike today. He's on the road to his Tuesday afternoon exercise appointment at the pickleball courts.
It's been a day.
Yeah. That's the way it works sometimes. All right, we're going to hit a timeout. I mentioned the News of Frank Martin. We'll get into some of that when we return. We'll talk some attendance. We got Gene Sapakoff at 1:30 and much more. Hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We'll be right back. What's up, everyone? JB here. Want to tell you about my friends at McFadden Pest Control, as we do every day on our program. I love these guys. They've been in business over 40 years, and they treat our family like they've only been around for 4 days. Always doing their best work, trying to earn our business, although they know that they'll always have it. Heath and the guys take care of our quarterly, our mosquitoes, termite bonds, anything we can get them to do, they do it. They're the best. They're friends. Heath even often texts me and just asks to see how my family's doing. It's amazing. I can't say enough about McFadden Pest Control. Switch to them. You'll never have anyone else protect your home. McFaddenPestControl.com, McFaddenPestControl.com here in the Low Country.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risk their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Bourbon and whiskey drinkers of Charleston. Paddock and Whiskey on James Island and the Terrace Shopping Center on Maybank is your home for the finest and rarest bourbon and whiskey drinks in the Low Country. This is where I hang out. Go meet my friends Reed and Chris and try one of their exclusive barrel pick bourbons. They have the largest private barrel collection in the state, and let their knowledgeable staff recommend your next pour. PaddockandWhiskey.com. Let not your heart be troubled. Paddock and Whiskey is here for your next double. We're all friends around here. Paddock and Whiskey, proud partners of the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
Show. Live, loud, and online.
Final hour. Welcome back to the EJB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. If you're getting that income tax check back, maybe you should head out there and buy yourselves a family ride. They got plenty of them, some sweet ones too. Stokes Volkswagen here in the Low Country. Darren Goldwater, Jamie Bradford here until 2 o'clock this afternoon. 843-321-8893 is our phone number. It is also our text line if you'd like to be a part of the program. You can follow us on social media across all platforms at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. Again, 843-321-8893 is that number. Gene Sapakoff is ahead at 1:30, so about 25 minutes from now. Thanks to Mike Morgan, Mr. Pickleball himself, for joining us in that last segment. All right, Darren, so tonight in baseball, we've got Charleston Southern on the road at South Carolina. It's 7 o'clock first pitch up there at Founders Park. Bucks looking for their 11th win. Gamecocks looking for their 22nd of the year. And Clemson will host the College of Charleston tonight. Tigers trying to improve to 16-13. Cougs trying to get closer to the 500 mark. They're 12-14 right now overall. Be their 13th win of the year. They did win at Clemson last year before the pandemic ended the shortened 2020 season. Jack Mahoney will get the start tonight for the Gamecocks against Charleston Southern, and he's been pretty good midweek, even though they lost last week against North Carolina. He wasn't bad. They just couldn't score. And so we'll see how it plays out tonight. But always an interesting little tie-in now in that CSU South Carolina game, because Stuart Lake, of course, longtime assistant coach for Ray Tanner at South Carolina, went and took over the Bucks program and is back in Columbia with the Gamecocks and Mark Kingston. So there's a neat little tie-in there, and we'll be interested to see how that goes tonight. Derek Scott's got the call, but you can also watch all those on ESPN+. Frank Martin will meet with the media tomorrow, Darren, at 3 o'clock. So I will probably hop on that press conference and just see what Frank has to say. This is going to be interesting, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Look, it's obvious why we haven't had this yet, but now that we are at this point, he'll give his opening statement, and then you're going to get numerous questions of what took so long, how are you feeling, what are the relationships like within that building, what are your prospects moving forward, what do you think you have to do to keep your job. You can expect all of those questions to pop out tomorrow.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And this is going to be good for Frank to be able to step out in front and maybe try to provide some clarity. And, we'll see how much he answers with some of these questions. I'm sure there's going to be some things asked that he doesn't want to get much into. I feel very comfortable in saying that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Frank has always, for the most part, been pretty honest with everybody. And if he has a response to it, he's going to give it to you. So Kerry Rich, I want to bring this into it as well. And this is part of the BigSpur.com today. Kerry Rich wrote a column and plugged it into our buddies over there. And you can go read it if you're a member at the Big Spur. You can, if you're not a member, you can grab one by joining for $1 whole. That's it, just $1. TheBigSpur.com today, first month for $1. And you can read it titled Rich Thoughts on Frank Martin. And he's spent some extensive time with Frank over the last few weeks. And basically, Kerry kind of clarifies in this column that that Frank, they have a relationship. I hope folks understand this. This is somebody who, this isn't just Frank talking to the media. Let me give you some media speak or anything like that. This was him talking. And I think he fully understands that Kerry Rich is going to relay a lot of this information to the public at some point in time. And he's done that. But he made it a point to point out that Frank Martin acknowledged that COVID was an issue, but it was a larger acknowledgement that there is more to this as to why this season was a failure.
Mm-hmm.
He put it on himself. He put it on the staff and a lot of things that they didn't do right. They felt confident, of course, coming into the year, and he feels pretty confident moving forward. He pointed out, I guess, specifically the things that they need to adjust. We did get the news yesterday that Trey Anderson is transferring out of the program. So that now is, Keyshawn Bryant, NBA draft. He's not signed with an agent, but he's declared for the draft. Trey Annable, he is transferred to Murray State. Jalen McCrary, transfer portal. TJ Moss, transfer portal. Jermaine Couisnard is declared for the draft. Minaya has declared for the draft, but he is also in the transfer portal. Trey Anderson now in the transfer portal, and they've added 3 transfers. Chico Carter from Murray State, A.J. Wilson from George Mason, Eric Stevenson from Washington. So there was going to be massive turnover, and I think that's what I'm most interested in. when he speaks with the media tomorrow. We were expecting massive turnover, and the reason we were expecting that, Darren, when I say we, I'll just say me. I don't want to lump you into this, but I was expecting it based on the people that we've had on this program, and they've all publicly said we expect massive turnover for a multitude of reasons. I want to know why, and I'll be interested to see what his response is to that question.
The curious part for me will be how in depth he'll go. Because it's not like breaking news or anything that it wasn't only COVID when you have guys that mysteriously don't come on a road trip because for whatever reason was given, when there are multiple reports and even him saying himself that the leadership is questionable, when you know that when he has said, here's what we were telling him to do and they're not doing it. The message, we said this often on the show. For whatever reason, the message wasn't getting through. Is it because it was just time? Because after a while, coach's messages to his guys in one particular locker room tends to fade. That's a given. We know that. Is it because there was turmoil inside that locker room? Is it an individual, a group of people inside that locker room? We don't know, and I don't think you're going to get any full transparency on that. But it was clear that it wasn't, especially as the season went towards its latter stages, it wasn't just COVID, right? It was easy to say at the beginning of the year and looking at Frank and understanding that he clearly was not himself and he clearly was not healthy. Plus the team had their shutdowns because of it also. The beginning of the year was easy to say COVID. Then the end of the year was easy to say, what else is up? What's going on? And getting full transparency even after the fact will be a challenge because you don't want anything to negatively impact your ability to go out and recruit and bring guys into that locker room again. So there'll be some explanation, but I don't think there's going to be too much transparency in terms of why everything didn't really align for the individuals on the team last year.
Yeah, probably not. And he's, so I don't know that he's going to be very detailed, like to your point, on the relationships he has with some of these players or had or whatever it is. But one of the relationships I think that people are interested in is his relationship with Coach Tanner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to give away everything in this column. Kerry Rich wrote this column for the Big Spur. This is a Big Spur column. If you want to read it, you need to go read it. But I will point out in there that, according to Frank Martin, Ray Tanner was fantastic in this process. So, the keyboard warriors and the couch coaches and the message board heroes and all those folks who think they know more than everybody else, and they can't wait to tell you how much they know, they can throw up a bunch of gibberish all they want to. And you know what? Maybe there is some hidden truth in this. Maybe they aren't being totally honest with the media, with the public, or whatever about what their relationship is or isn't. Doesn't matter. None of that crap matters anymore. Like, it just doesn't, Darren. I mean, if they're adults, okay, one of them's the athletics director, one of them's the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out. The rest of us are here to either, if you choose to support the program, support it. If you don't want to support the program, don't go, don't watch. It's on you. Okay. But according to Frank Martin, it appears that Ray Tanner was, quote, fantastic in throughout this. Now, what does that mean? I have no idea. I could speak to the integrity of both of these men because I know both, and I could say that sounds about right to me. Coach Tanner and Coach Martin for a long time have been stand-up human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things about Frank. You've said this before, and you were spot on when you said it. If you know anything about him, if there's anything that you could ever point out about Frank Martin, the one thing that you can point out is he is a man of integrity, and he's a man of honesty and truth, and he just wants it. If you got something to say it, and let's talk it out like men. So I don't know. I'm assuming that their relationship is healthy enough to move forward with. If it wasn't, I don't know that they would be moving forward. But I think people want to know the answer to that question, and we'll see how much he gives on it.
I like what you said, right? They're grown men. Things happen, and then you move on. And if you're particularly, let's just boil it down to this situation here. If you're the Gamecocks athletic department And if you are Frank Martin and that staff and those players, the past is the past. It's over. Now you've got this year, and who knows what the expectations are? Who knows how transparent we'll be in giving those expectations, what benchmarks must be hit in order for this to be deemed a successful year. But at the end of the day, you've decided to move on and move forward together. So be an adult, move forward together, and support each other. And that goes both ways. It goes absolutely both ways. I want to see more from the athletic department supporting Martin. Whenever this is officially announced, there needs to be more. Marketing has been used on the show a time or two as it relates to promoting the program. I'm not sure if that's exactly the right word, but there has to be some type of uniting front. Let's move forward together. We're all in this together. We're all supportive of each other. However you think of last year and where and how we got to where we are, that's fine. We're here. Now it's time to move forward. And there's got to be some way to put that message out in like an uplifting type of way without it seeming just cheesy. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So there's got to be a way to do that. And the only way to do that is to have people stand up there like grown men and move forward and say, look, guys, let's all jump on this train. Let's all do this thing together.
And I agree. I said this, 2 weeks ago, and a couple of the couch coaches, hop on message boards and make fun of me for saying it because I happen to be a positive person. But if you want to be a loser about everything, oh God, we're in the dumps and we can't do anything and this and the other. Well, that's fine. Go be a loser on your own time. Mm-hmm. But if you want to see again, the situation is what it is. Period. It's all happened. Mm-hmm. Like you just said, it is over. Contract signed. He's still the coach. He's going to be the coach. Ray Tanner, whether you like him or not, and I'm speaking to whoever gets, can't wait to tweet about how much they can't stand Coach Tanner, whether you like him or not, he's the athletics director. Mm-hmm. You have nothing to do with that. It's not going to, you can bitch and moan about it all you want to. Get on every message board from here to Hong Kong and talk about how bad Ray Tanner is. Doesn't matter. Your words mean nothing. So this boat is moving forward, and you're either going to be in the boat or you're going to be out of the boat. And like I said a couple of weeks ago, you have to find a way to treat this as a new hire. And that's what I was about to get to a minute ago when I had a couple folks making fun of me for saying that. Oh, that's a pipe dream. No, it's not. Not at all. Are you kidding me? Supporting the program in a positive light. You know what? Fine. You're gonna draw a line, and you're gonna have the haves on this side. You're gonna have the have-nots on this side. And the have-nots, you don't need them. Mm-hmm. Forget about them. But the haves are the ones that are gonna help push this program in the direction that you want to go. Now, what are the results going to be? I have no idea. I don't know the answer to that. They got to get it up there and play. He's got to build this roster, and he's going to have to do it quick, and they're going to have a quick turnaround. Mm-hmm. And that's up to him. But to your point, the support without it looking cheesy and things like that, yeah, there needs to be a true, real effort from the University of South Carolina to make this situation the best situation it can possibly be from what it's been, period. And it's the little things. And I don't know how many times coaches, you played sports your whole life. I played, well, till you couldn't play them anymore, just like all of us, right?
Right.
Anybody that had a coach who was worth a crap would preach the little things. That's all you ever heard about. The little things, the little things, the little things. The little things add up to the big things. And so the university and the athletics department, at least in my opinion, need to do all the little things right to try to add up to the big things. And it might be the little things like we've talked about, like Eric Nichols actually responded on Twitter to me, which I respect the hell out of Eric Nichols. He's one of the great ones at South Carolina, and I hope he knows I wasn't trying to take shots at a place that I truly love. But we were just coming up with ideas that day with JC of how to improve it. And he's talking about maybe turning the camera angle at the CLA so you see the students during the games. Turn the logo over and turn the camera angle.
Yep.
Little things like that, that can help this program be viewed differently. You're not going to change the minds of some people that don't want their minds to be changed, but there are others who want to see it succeed and are willing to help see that through. And if you commit to that, they'll commit to that. And those are the type of things you're going to have to do, I think, to support this restructuring of a roster, contract, and everything else moving forward.
If there's one thing I am certain of about Gamecock fans, having been down here for about 20 years at this point, it is one damn loyal fan base. And you can have the ups and downs and the gripes and the and your own issues with anything you want, whether it's how something was handled, whether it's a performance on the field. But then at the end of the day, when the next game happens, it is a diehard rabid fan base. What you need to come out of the athletic department here is to feed that fan base something to give them a little bit of positivity right now, because it's not just, man, the year was bad. And, do we bring them back? Do we not bring them back? Then there was the whole process of how it played out. And then there was other things that aren't necessarily a part of it, like Darla Moore, but you throw it on top of it and it feels like more. There has to be something. And, to be honest, as I'm saying this, Beamer and a successful football season would go a long, long way. But there has to be something just for the basketball team to unite the fan base again, because it's fractured right now. Bring them together before the year and have them moving forward together. It's a necessary thing to happen. And just flipping the court around and flipping a camera angle to show the students, that's not going to be enough. It's a good step. It's a good thing for television, but that's not enough.
No. And that's what it's one of many little things that you can do to support the program. They all have to add up. And what a lot of what you're probably going to see is coaches supporting coaches. You see things like Shane Beamer putting out social media videos for Dawn Staley and the women's team and the golf team when they went and played in the ANWA, those 4 ladies just a couple of weeks ago. You'll probably start to see more of that as time goes along and you get closer to basketball season, that it looks like the family of South Carolina coaches maybe are supporting Frank Martin, supporting that team and things like that. But, and that's like, we don't have all those answers, right? Like, I don't know what they're planning to do internally to help support it in moving forward in a positive manner. But it's important for fans to understand that this process is now over, and it was an ugly process.
Yeah.
And we can all acknowledge that it was terrible. It was terribly done. I don't know exactly who all is to blame for what. I have no idea. Everybody thinks they know something. They don't know. They don't. They just don't, Darren. I mean, there's some people out there that do have some truths and some facts, but folks who tell you exactly how they know it and they can't wait to get on the message board and post it, they don't know. They just don't. Okay. I don't know. You don't know. The people that I know that know Frank Martin inside and out, they don't know.
No,
so
they don't know what you hear, and you don't know what to believe of what you hear.
No, we don't.
But all you know is that there was so much different stuff coming out that it looked like a mess, and it was a mess.
It was a mess.
That part.
But there's only one thing you could do, and that's move forward, because they are. So if you choose not to move forward, then don't. Okay, that's fine. But don't bitch about it, because there's nothing you can do about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it'll be interesting to see what he says tomorrow. I think it will be a breath of fresh air, to be honest with you. I think it'll be a breath of fresh air. People are going to get to hear from Frank. I'm with you. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to get into any personal relationship type conversations, but I do think that he will hold himself accountable tomorrow for what happened. I think people a lot of people will actually welcome that with open arms. There's going to be an honest side to him, and and we'll see what this roster looks like as they start to piece it back together. I can tell you now that some of these guys that they've added I've gone back and kind of watched. They're pretty good players. I don't know what that means. We'll see, but the Wilson kid, the Stevenson kid can play. I mean, these kids can play a little bit, so
we'll see. They're Division I players. They should be able to play. Craig points out, what's the realistic expectation for the team, right? Because that typically Martin's better teams, and this is true for a lot of coaches, are the more experienced teams, the ones he's had for a while, learning that defense. Right. I mean, we know that. The transfers that are coming in, they're veteran guys. How hard, I mean, they've been in and around D1 basketball now for some time. So are they able to gel quicker because of that? Are they able to pick up certain intricacies of Martin's schoolings of his defense? Are they able to do that faster than, say, a freshman coming in? Probably because they're used to and up to speed of the college game. I'll tell you what I do expect, though, tomorrow. I think you're going to have a lot of positivity coming from Frank Martin. We saw a lot this year of him just not being himself. He didn't feel well. It was, hanging his head. He was sitting down a lot. The body language was bad. I think you can expect to see more of the Frank Martin we're all used to. And I think it will fall in line with what we're hearing from the football side of things, with that positivity and all this uplifting stuff and building up players. And because at the end of the day, that is who Frank Martin is. So I think we'll hear and see that. And I think that will be the first step to the road for recovery, I guess.
Yeah. It's going to be a long road, Darren. There's no question about that. But it's tomorrow's you're right. It's a first big step, and we'll see what happens. 3:00 press conference with Frank Martin, the still basketball coach at the University of South Carolina. Also could get some news in the next couple of weeks about increased attendance at South Carolina and maybe elsewhere. Ray Tanner yesterday spoke that they're looking at increasing attendance for the spring game, which is coming up not this weekend, but the following weekend. And maybe at Founders Park, according to John Whittle, in the next couple of weeks. I mentioned yesterday on this show that maybe by May, you might have attendance going up at Founders Park. And that was just something I'd kind of heard off the record. And according to John Whittle's reporting, that may be true as well. So we'll have to see there. I know that folks are really encouraged by that news. The one thing that I am a little unsure of, and we'll try to get with John later on this week and talk to him about it. State law says that there is no attendance mandates. There's none, but it's recommended to be at 50% capacity if you're, arenas, concerts, and things like that. But John pointed out that there is some type of state issue, and he pointed to the fact that nobody else in South Carolina has increased their attendance either because of that state issue. But that would be news to me. We spoke with David Cloninger yesterday about this, and I asked him, state law does say that there is no attendance mandates, right? And he said, as far as he knew, that was correct. So maybe there's a little bit more to that. Maybe it is the state that is protecting some of this still at this point in time. But I didn't know that, if that's true, because I'm a proponent of increasing attendance safely. So we'll have to see where that goes. But Darren, I have a feeling that probably within a week at most, middle or beginning of next week, potentially at the latest, end of this week at the earliest, there will be an announcement, at least from South Carolina, about the spring game and increasing attendance at Founders Park.
And just to reiterate what Cloninger said yesterday, it's not as simple as just saying, okay, we're opening back up to 50%.
Yeah, come on in.
Like, let's roll. There's a lot that goes into it because you still have to be following the protocols. Once you do that and you're facing budget shortfalls already, right, you're facing more, right? Because just selling more tickets and having food purchased inside the stadium, that's not exactly going to make up your budget shortfall at all, especially if you're just talking about baseball, because then you're paying more people who are going to be in there. There are a lot of little details in there that you have to iron out and figure out before you can announce, and then before you can actually enact that type of a plan to increase capacity anywhere, whether it's South Carolina, whether it's the Nationals, or whoever. I mean, it's a lot simpler than just saying, all right, let's go. Other people are doing it. Let's roll. It's not that.
And let's point out what happened at Ole Miss as well. So everybody saw the video this weekend in Oxford, which was heartwarming to me because I missed that. We all missed that. And I don't want beer thrown all over me, but we all miss seeing that type of atmosphere. And that's generally those packed ballparks of the SEC, Clemson, Florida State, places like that. We're used to it, and we'll get there. We're getting there. But let's make sure we're clear about how that happened. Ole Miss for a month has been on basically a rolling attendance scale. So they have been slowly increasing capacity for their baseball games over the last month. So their governor a while back opened up the state. the good news out of all of this is in the state of Mississippi, there is a 1.6 positivity rate for COVID. 1.6% of the folks in Mississippi whom have tested positive. It's less than 1% in Lafayette County, where Oxford, Mississippi is located. So the numbers, even with the attendance, have been continuing to go down, which is an awesome. Those are just facts. People might not want to. I saw some people yesterday tweeting to me from something that I said out tweeted about increasing attendance, and I want to kill people, and I'm a super spreader and all this crap. Jesus, guys, you got to get back on the rocker. Get back on the sauce, man.
What you're saying is you want an atmosphere.
No, I want a safe atmosphere if it's possible. That's what we all want, right? So, but Ole Miss didn't just open up the floodgates. It's not what happened. There was a rolling attendance policy to gradually increase without issue. And if they saw issue, they would hit pause on that or even go backwards if they needed to. They actually announced this via video on Twitter, I think back in, God, Darren, I want to say the end of February, at least beginning of March.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worked out brilliantly for Ole Miss. So they took a step to get. So here's my point, because I see what Stephen Witherspoon, who just tweeted to us, has said. And I love it. I love what you're saying, brother. I'm on board with you. I hope they can do it. Need a full Founders Park for the Arkansas weekend. Absolutely. Pack them in there and let's tell the Razorbacks to go to hell. I'm with you on that. But I don't, that's not going to happen.
No.
If they increase attendance, they're going to slowly roll this thing and try to get it to a point where hopefully they're playing at home in June, maybe with a chance to go to the World Series. They're not just going to open it up from 1,900, 2,000 people to 8,000. So if South Carolina, Clemson, the College Charleston, whoever, if they're starting to maybe open those doors, crack those doors to get more people in there, it's going to be more of a slow roll. Maybe they'll double it. They might double it. That'd be okay. Get up to 3,800, 4,000, whatever. But I don't see them just opening the floodgates.
No, because again, there's a lot more to it than just, like you said, opening up the gates. There's a lot more that has to go into it, and it makes a lot of sense to slowly work this thing up. Keep in mind, we're in spring break or just past spring break, depending on, I guess, when schools are taking spring break, what the effect of that will be when they come back to campus. There are variables that are out there right now, so it's a lot simpler than just a snap of the fingers and let's go.
That's right. Craig, to your point, allow 20 to 25,000 for the spring game. I agree with that. They allowed 20,000 for all the games in the fall. From a safety standpoint, that is more than doable, and we'll see what they increase their attendance to. I do know this. One of the issues that the university has been concerned with the spring game has been parking. Now, I'm not going to speak for Coach Tanner or anybody in that athletics department. I have no idea exactly what that pertains to, because they've been using Gamecock Park as a COVID testing site. Or vaccination site, excuse me. They've been using it as a vaccination site. So I don't know if they're only wanting people to park in their lots. If they're, I have no idea. But I know that there was some type of parking issue that came about with this somewhere along the lines. So maybe we get that cleared up a little bit. I expect attendance at the spring game to be above the 9,000 limit that it is now. I think that will go up. I expect it. It might not. I'm not speaking for Coach Tanner. I don't know. But I would expect that more than likely to probably increase as long as they feel like they safely can. And it seems to be trending in that direction. And I agree with you, Adam. Never understood the hate for Ray Tanner. Somebody please explain it to me. We get off the air at 2:00 today, brother. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. Just don't listen to everything you hear. That's what I'll tell you. Don't listen to everything you hear. All right, WandoPower.com, WandoPower.com. Rent that aerator, rent that trailer if you need it. Get it there. Rent that zero-turn mower, whatever you need. If you don't have it and you need it because it's time for spring cleanup at the house or at your piece of property, your rental properties, whatever it is, Wando Power Equipment on Daniel Island, in business for over 30 years. Tell Polk and Harrison I said, what's up? And let me let the cat out of the bag. They're Clemson fans. So if you're a Clemson Tiger, you love it. If you're not, you don't love it. But they have been my friends for literally over 20 years. I promise you, these are great guys. I get all my stuff there. They have the best prices. They have the best service. They have the best equipment. They're the best people, man. I just love the Price family. I think the world of them. They're on Daniel Island. Just check them out, wandopower.com. Go to their Facebook page or wherever you choose to find them. Wando Power Equipment, powering Power Hour here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Gene Sapakoff is up next. He was at the Masters all week. Wouldn't you love to stand in his shoes for those 6 or 7 days?
Yeah, and he's going to the RBC tomorrow. It's tough to be Gene these days.
Tough week for Gene.
Yeah.
He'll tell us what he's seen when we get back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road with exciting news. It's springtime and we're playing ball. Most dealerships don't have any inventory, but at Stokes Volkswagen we do. So we're playing ball on every new Volkswagen in stock. Every 2021 Tiguan, $3,500 off. Every 2021 Atlas, $5,300 off. Every new Volkswagen available with zero down. Qualified buyers can sign and drive with interest-free financing for 60 months. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, paid off or not. Is your credit in a slump?
Strike two.
If you've got $500 down and you make at least $2,000 per month, our lenders can get you approved. So if you want to strike out, that's okay. But if you want to hit a home run and save $5,300 on a new Volkswagen, come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road or StokesVW.com.
$1,666 per month per 1,000 borrowed for 60 months at 0% APR with zero down. Plus tax tag. Includes $499.50 administration fee. Subject to VCI credit approval. Expires month end.
Peace and love at Stokes Speed Up.
What's up, everyone? JB here. Want to tell you about my friends at McFadden Pest Control, as we do every day on our program. I love these guys. They've been in business over 40 years, and they treat our family like they've only been around for 4 days. Always doing their best work, trying to earn our business, although they know that they'll always have it. Heath and the guys take care of our quarterly, our mosquitoes, termite bonds, anything we can get them to do, they do it. They're the best. They're friends. Heath even often texts me and just asks to see how my family's doing. It's amazing. I can't say enough about McFadden Pest Control. Switch to them. You'll never have anyone else protect your home. McFaddenPestControl.com, McFaddenPestControl.com here in the Low Country.
Spring is officially here, and there's no better place to bring it in than the Dog and Duck. 3 locations in Mount Pleasant, Park West, Bell Hall, and Clements Ferry Road, all of them with gorgeous outdoor seating to take advantage of their daily food and drink specials. Through the end of April, $5 Sweetwater pints. Food specials like Taco Tuesday and the Game Day Burger every Wednesday. It's all available at Dog and Duck. There are 3 locations in Mount Pleasant, Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
You are listening to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
$137, final segment on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Right to the phone lines we go because we can't wait any longer. We've got to hear all about the pimento cheese and egg salad sandwiches of Augusta National that Gene Sapakoff shared in celebration with Hideki Matsuyama. Hey, Gene.
The big thing about Hideki winning is that he definitely is the most popular Hideki in Japan now, replacing Hideki Matsui.
Oh, wow.
Right there.
I think you have to say that for sure. And as far as the Masters fare that is offered to concession stands on the golf course, the big new thing was the chicken salad. That was a hit, but not nearly as big of a hit as the craft ale Crow's Nest beer that evidently is made by Miller Coors. And I sampled a sip, and that's as far as I'm going to go on that on company time. Yeah.
I know you celebrated your birthday while you were down there. So did the Masters make you any special food because it was your birthday?
They did not. They don't do things like that. And but I don't even think they would do that for Mike Tirico. Maybe for Jim Nantz, maybe for Nick Faldo, of course. But yeah. But still, it wasn't a bad birthday being at the Masters.
No, I bet not.
Matsuyama, Zalatoris, Spieth, Schauffele, that's how it finished. Gene, what was the coolest thing that you saw out there last week?
Well, I mean, first of all, you have to say that it is truly cool for global golf and sports diversity that Matsuyama, who gets into this tournament, 10 years ago via the Asian Pacific Tour, founded by the Masters, that, he wins. I think that's just spectacular and just does so much for the growth of the game eventually here going forward. For me, though, to watch 24-year-old Will Zalatoris out of Wake Forest, who had played here in Charleston in the Azalea, had played up at Awendaw, at Bulls Bay, at the Hootie, to see the way that guy, just with nerves of steel, operated for 4 days in his very first master and third major, I was just amazed, because I thought, oh, he's going to wilt on Saturday. He's going to collapse and just let it get to him on Sunday. And I know Matsuyama, missed that little putt at the end, and it made what really was kind of a 2-shot win look like a 1-shot win. But wow, Zalatoris finishing just 1 shot back in the Masters, that was insane.
How did you get a chance to see him up close at all? Scott Glaze tells us he's like 145 pounds soaking wet.
That's what he looks like.
Oh, I first of all, yeah, I did. I watched him on the practice range. I talked to his mom on the practice range. I watched him putt. I followed him on Saturday and Sunday and a little bit on Thursday. He's listed at 6'2", 165, and as I wrote in the paper, that maybe with his bushy light brown hair all wet. I think he's one of those guys that looks like he's got to run around in the shower to get water on him, I mean, he is that skinny, and he needs to be fed more, but he's already one of the longest hitters on the tour. It's ridiculous the way he generates that power, and that's a good thing going forward, because, he is going to play at RBC Heritage at Hilton Head starting Thursday. That's cool, but I just think he's going to have a nice, well-rounded game for, not just future majors, but that he can win on this tour quite a bit. And Jordan Spieth thinks so too, and he's been playing with him since he was 9 years old in Texas Junior Tournament.
I heard, you know what? I don't know if it was actually about Zalatoris, so I'll flip this around to the personality that he has. Because while you were talking, and you didn't see this because you were on the phone, I threw up a little collage of him, the Happy Gilmore caddy, and what it actually says on his 60 degree that says, what does it actually say? Like, "Hi, Mr. Gilmore, I'm your caddy." So he's fully embraced that. What type of personality does he have?
Got a great sense of humor, really down with anything you would want him to embrace. And that became this meme during the Masters and probably before that, but especially took off. And hey, he went with it. And not only that, but the whole thing of just saying that I'm stupid enough to think I can win this on Friday. And then after Sunday saying, here I am, after my first Masters, saying I'm disappointed that I finished 1 shot back. I just think it's going to be fun. I don't think we know him all that well yet, but what we do know of him looks really, really promising.
What surprised you this year? Was it DJ not making the cut? What out there caught your eye that you thought, wow, didn't expect that this week?
I thought that guys like DJ, okay, I'm going to say what surprised me the most is Justin Thomas gets himself in position after Friday and playing really well. And then he just did not play very well on Saturday and played even worse on Sunday. And I think we all think that Justin Thomas, the Louisville kid that went to Alabama, Nick Saban's buddy, is going to win a Masters at some point. And I think this was a really good opportunity, and he really didn't play well. That surprised me. As far as what surprised me in the positive sense, I mean, clearly Zalatoris, but on this very award-winning program with Amy and Darren last week, you asked me who I thought would win. I think I said, yeah, I like DJ's chances, but I said the dark horse is Xander Schauffele. That guy's ridiculous. I mean, first of all, he hasn't been around that long, but look how well he's done in majors. And he's just kind of got an old soul. And part of that is that, his father has these German soccer roots and his mother's got both Chinese and Japanese heritage, and he just has this worldly poise about him, and I think he's going to win just multiple majors going forward.
Gene, did you see the photo floating? Matter of fact, it might have been you, Darren, that tweeted this, but did you see the photo floating around social media of Hideki Matsuyama in the airport with his green jacket?
I did not see that, but I
I'll
got to
send
look
it.
that up because that'll be cool. Because, he doesn't really show a lot of emotion. And it's not just that he's not as comfortable with English as obviously a lot of the American and European players, but he's just that kind of guy. I mean, he's just really a modest, mellow dude. And so to see him out in public with the jacket would be really cool.
I heard yesterday, and I did tweet this out also, and it was twofold funny, right? Because number one, he's got the green jacket draped over his arm, and then later there's a picture of him sitting at the gate with the green jacket draped over just a seat at the gate. And then part two, you just won the Masters and $2 million, and there are reports that career earnings could be worth $1 billion, and you're not flying private back to Japan? But
that's so Hideki. And I mean, it's like, hey, I just picked up this jacket in the duty-free shop. I think I'll take it on the plane with me. That's just so funny, but that's him. And that's what even Japanese journalists say that were there at the Masters, and veteran golf writers have been saying. So that's cool. Hey, I wish he was at the RBC Heritage, but he was never booked to play anyway, unlike some players that are, I think Spieth was booked for it and said, I think I'm just going to celebrate this week. But hey,
right.
This isn't the end of him either in majors, I don't think. And it's obviously really cool that he goes into the Tokyo Olympics with this green jacket. And I was mostly looking forward to the Olympics for Dawn Staley and her basketball team, but now I've got some golf to look forward to.
I going back to those photos, Darren. Let's compare and contrast for a moment here, and let's just have some fun with this, Gene. I obviously nobody in the airport basically knew who he was. He's walking. I guess that's his translator with him, Darren.
It's not the translator that was at the Masters, so I'm not sure who that is.
It's somebody of Japanese descent as well. Of course, they both have masks on their face. I mean, the green jacket's kind of the dead giveaway, but just picture this for a second, Gene. It's 2019. Tiger Woods wins the Masters, and he just comes strutting through the airport to catch a commercial flight with a green jacket draped over his left arm. I mean, that's what is amazing about this golf. Matsuyama, Woods, everybody on planet Earth would be around Tiger. Nobody even knows who the dude is.
Yeah, and I mean, Darren said the $1 billion thing. I heard them say that on the Golf Channel almost right away. I mean, you think about it, that's not an exaggeration. Those guys are just revered. This is interesting, Darren. You'll probably particularly appreciate this. Usually there is, and I say this with all compliment, a horde of Japanese media at the Masters, as well as from Scotland and Brazil and other countries, but particularly Japan because golf's just so big there. Well, because of travel restrictions, there were really just a handful there this year, and that's a shame. But it is reflective of how popular golf is in Japan, and it's going to be quite a ride here for Hideki going forward.
Speaking of the jacket, Trevor Immelman, I heard him yesterday. He's obviously close with Matsuyama. He is part of the President's Cup team. I think Immelman's the
President's
captain
Cup,
of it. Okay,
right.
So he pointed out, and he does have a green jacket to his credit as well. And he pointed out that the Masters actually encourages people to bring that green jacket out so that the average person can see it, can feel it, can touch it. He said that when he had it, like he had people actually put it on and take pictures with it because the club actually wants that to happen. Have you heard that?
I hadn't particularly heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me with this sort of new management and new view of the Masters that the club has, because in the old days, that absolutely wasn't the case. I know for sure that Clifford Roberts, the late co-founder of the Masters, once chastised Gary Player for wearing his jacket too much in South Africa. And so, and Gary Player has some funny stories about that you could probably look up. But, this is to slightly switch the subject, a new kind of management team at the Masters that wants to really be a lot more fan friendly. I mean, all their initiatives with diversity that I mentioned, but also with youth golf, and the youth patron program that they have. And even, they won't comment on this officially, but buzz that maybe there will be a 365 day a year, or at least a year round, Masters Museum open in Augusta.
Ooh.
Because I think we all have our stories of driving down Washington Road. Hey, I think I'll pop in here and take a look around the Masters in December or June or whenever, and there's nothing to see, and you're not getting past that gate on Eisenhower Drive or Azalea Drive or whatever, Magnolia Lane. There's nothing to see behind those fences. It might as well be, a residential community or a muni course or something, but you're not getting in there. And I thought for a long time they kind of would benefit from something being there year round that people could pop into and check out.
Yeah. Gene, I saw this morning that even though they were higher than November's Masters, which more than likely we expected them to be, November's Masters was competing with football. This was the lowest rated final round since like 2003 or something in the Masters. But it did kind of tick up towards the end when it got, I think, within one or two shots. People started kind of checking in to see if Schauffele could make that comeback, or if Zalatoris would find a way to tie this thing and get it, into extra innings, if that's what they call it at the Masters. What was it like on Sunday? What was it like on Sunday compared to other Sundays that you have attended at the Masters?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I predicted this as this thing was unfolding over the last about 5 holes. This is going to be one of the lowest rated Masters. And yeah, you don't compare it to 2020, but you don't compare it to 2019 with Tiger either. But those aren't good numbers. But, you have Matsuyama, and then you have Zalatoris, who no one has ever heard of. You don't have Spieth's kind of there, but he was never really threatening to win. You just didn't have the big names on the leaderboard, A, and B, it was really not in depth over the last several holes. And so that's a formula for bad ratings. It just is. Hey, next year, if you've got DeChambeau and Dustin Johnson and Koepka and Spieth coming down the stretch, something like that, wouldn't we all just love to see Tiger even walk out onto that course, let alone make the cut? That would be beautiful. But I just, this was a really cool story for global golf, not a good formula for U.S. ratings.
Overall, with the entire week, but specifically Thursday through Sunday, the 4 rounds of the actual tournament, how were things handled by the Masters staff with the COVID protocols and guidelines in place? I'm talking about patrons on the course. Did everything run as smoothly as they had hoped and anticipated?
It ran ideally, and I'm going to say that weather helped. They just had great weather, except I think an hour and 15-minute delay at one point, and that wasn't even bad. But I think they let in about the right amount of spectators. I might have let in a few more, but it was so much cooler than in November to be able to hear some noise and to have some people out there. And yet, even on Sunday, I could walk down the 10th fairway by myself with, Patrick Reed, for instance. I mean, that was weird to have a situation like that. So I think it was really well handled. Everybody from the second things got going on Tuesday last week, the Masters is already talking about we can't wait till 2022. And I think that's pretty much what the entire golf world is thinking right now.
How about the players' reaction to Bryson DeChambeau and what he was trying to do for the second straight time and could not accomplish by overpowering the course?
Well, he pulled out at the last minute here from the RBC Heritage, but still, when I go down there this week, and I'm going tomorrow, I'm going to write some about that because, players like Rory have already said that he has, forced them to make adjustments they really shouldn't be trying to make sometimes. And even with some of the younger players, they're trying to overpower courses when really they should be focusing on shot making and a well-rounded game. DeChambeau is going to win more majors than the one he already has. And I think he'll eventually do well at the Masters, but he is one frustrated cat after Sunday. Because number one, he can't use all of his calibration tools in Augusta. And two, he's just trying to kind of reinvent the way to play the Masters, and the Masters was saying back to him, "We win."
Absolutely. Yeah.
Augusta National, I should say. I mean, he was just trying to do way too different things and kind of overpower things and drive greens and stuff. And you just sometimes have to accept, and this is not me talking. You've got golf experts and golf, golfers way more experienced than me, like Glaze and stuff. But you have to accept your pars at the Masters. You just have to accept that and take them where they are. And sometimes forget about the hole placements, which are crazy. Play to the middle of the green, get your par, get out of there, and worry about, the par fives where you're going to make up time. But DeChambeau's just not willing to do that at this point.
He better learn, or he's never going to wear a green jacket. Well, he might wear one, but it won't be for the Masters.
He can wear a Deckies.
I don't think that'll fit him. I'd be interested to see if the jacket they try to put on Bryson. I know they size everybody, but if it could even fit on him if he was ever to win one, it might be.
Yeah, I think they'd need some serious tailoring there. Hey, and all I say about Bryson, I still say this: is that guy fun to watch and captivating, or what?
Man,
he is ratings for that, because you just never know what's going to happen.
You just don't know.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see if he could get in the mix at the Ocean Course for the PGA Championship in May. That Bryson DeChambeau trying to drive through the wind with that backdrop of what we all think it's going to look like, the usual postcard self, that will make for excellent television.
Well, he better be careful out there. I know that. You think you're just going to grip one and rip one 350 yards at the Ocean Course? Yeah, right into the Atlantic Ocean is where it's headed. Because that course will eat you up in a hurry if you think you can overtake it, Gene. We all know that. We've all been out there. It's something.
Yeah, nothing like a little salt water to add modesty to your game.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. All right. So so now you're going to be in Hilton Head this week. When are you coming back from vacation?
Well, I've been going to the salt mine here at Augusta and then to Hilton Head, and then hopefully some baseball and football and basketball and stuff like that. But
maybe mix in Omaha this summer. Who knows? Maybe a hike out in Colorado. Got to cover the World Hiking Championship somewhere in northern Colorado. Gene,
axe throwing going on out there, whatever. I don't know.
Exactly. The old Paul Bunyan axe contest. Well, is there any way for us to find out a list of the South Carolina-based golfers in the Heritage this week? Because I know Glover and Stanley, and I think Wesley Bryan, and there's some others in there. Is there anywhere? How do we find that? Like, get a full list with South Carolina ties?
Yeah, well, I wrote about that in the Post and Courier a couple weeks ago when they released the players that were coming from South Carolina, and of course DJ, William McGirt. A whole bunch of guys. Matt Neesmith, the Gamecock, who did so well in his first RBC Heritage last year. But the RBC Heritage at, I think, rbcheritage.org or .com or whatever, has a really good thing on the field where they show all the players in alphabetical order and their mugshots and stuff. So yeah, it's a great field with as far as Palmetto State ties go, and Bill Haas, Kisner. That's going to be one of the most fun things about it.
Henley too, right? He'll be there.
Yeah, Russell Henley. Now he's moved out of the Low Country back to Georgia, but he's certainly made a lot of friends here in the 5 years or so that he spent here. So there's so many guys. This is really one of the primes of South Carolina professional golf, and maybe it's going to rub off on youth golf interest, because not only do you have all these players, and DJ has the 2020 Masters, but you've got this tournament now at the RBC Heritage. You got the PGA Championship at Kiowa in May, and then the Canadian Open, now called the Palmetto, down in Ridgeland in June. So this just never going to get any better than 3 PGA Tour stops in 3 months with a recent Masters winner and all these other really good players.
Tremendous for the Palmetto State. 24 years ago today, by the way, Tiger Woods won the Masters, his first major. And what a day. Barry Bonds at 661 17 years ago today. It's crazy. All right, Gene, final quick question here. Will you be on the press conference tomorrow with Frank Martin?
I'm probably going to be, but because I'm out at the RBC Heritage, I know that David Cloninger of the BostonCourier.com will A, have it covered, and B, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's got the first question.
I'm with you. Interested to see what this looks like tomorrow as Frank addresses the media for the first time after all of this. Gene, we'll recap all that next week, but we really wanted to focus on golf with you today and get a full recap of the Masters and look ahead to the Heritage this weekend. Have a wonderful time down in Hilton Head. I know this is a special time of the year for you being able to cover both of these events. They're special. You do a great job. Thank you so much for providing that information to our program.
Yes, thanks. Very blessed to work at the Post and Courier, and thanks a lot for having me on your show.
Always. Gene Sapakoff, 7-time Sports Writer of the Year in South Carolina. And we are out of time, speaking of which. It is National Thomas Jefferson Day.
Doesn't he have his birthday? Like, isn't that his day?
I don't know.
His birthday?
Yeah, it does. It is.
There you go.
1743. April 13, 1743. The author of the Declaration of Independence, my man, TJ. That's JT, golf, TJ of the Presidents.
There you go.
It is Make Lunch Count Day and also Peach Cobbler Day. So eat some peach cobbler in honor of the wonderful, amazing Thomas Jefferson.
Very Southern day today.
TJ. All right, thanks to Gene, and thanks to Mike Morgan, and thanks to Darren, and thanks to all of you.
Thank you, man.
We're out of here. Tomorrow is J.C. Sherbert Day on our program. We'll be back at noon. We'll have you covered then, and we'll see you then right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.